If you are on the cusp of a transition or you're struggling with something like wrestling with a decision, losing sight of a goal, or looking for answers and not finding them, then this video is for you. This really applies to anyone who's looking to improve their quality of life and unlearn helpful narratives or beliefs. So, if something about this video or the title spoke to you, even if you're not necessarily in a transition or struggling with something, I encourage you to stick around. The rest of you, I encourage you to do something that feeds your soul. And I'll see you in the next video. For those of you that are staying, first I want to say I'm really glad you're here. And second, I want to acknowledge something. I really got the sense that you have really been going through it, whether it's some kind of ending or transition, which often has endings, or this decision or situation or problem that you've been wrestling with. It seems like you've been dealing with this for a while, and these are pretty heavy things to be carrying on your own. I kept getting the sense that you really have been carrying this all on your own, that you likely are not asking for help or accepting help that's offered. And for many of you, you are likely not even telling people very often or even at all that you have been struggling with this. I just saw 222 on the clock as I was recording this. Um, whether you have been carrying this on your own, this has been an exhausting experience for you. Um, especially so if you are frequently carrying this on your own. And I kept picking up that many of you have really been struggling to sleep. I think some of you, it's like a quality of sleep or like frequently interrupted sleep. And some of you, it seems like there are some nightmares happening. And even if you're sleeping okay, there's likely still a lot of exhaustion felt throughout the day. And that all really makes the rest of your difficulties significantly harder. I have been struggling with these sleep issues right along with you. I don't know if that might bring some comfort to you. I've also picked up on a lot of feelings from this collective, a lot of sadness and grief, some of which may even feel out of context, like you're not quite sure where it's coming from. Some frustration, and some of that frustration might be from these feelings that come up out of context, or if those feelings are repetitive, you may be feeling frustrated, like when will these feelings resolve themselves? And I also have picked up on a lot of confusion, kind of in the sense of like the more that you think about it, the more foggy it becomes, almost like spinning your wheels. And this can bring a lot of feelings of insecurity and anxiety, of not being able to move things along faster, to find the solutions faster, especially when you are in a really dis- uncomfortable or even painful like space that you're in right now. Much of this experience likely has had a consistent feeling of overwhelm and exhaustion. And I hope that you can feel or even just take comfort in the knowledge that I'm sending you a ton of love right now and a hug if you want to receive my hug. um, it is such a difficult position for you to be in. And I'm so sorry. I hope that something about my channel and especially this video can give you some comfort or hope or some kind of clarity, or even just give you a little bit of a break if you want to use this video as some form of entertainment to listen to. So, to wrap up this acknowledgement of where you're at, this liminal space, think of it like a layover at an airport. You are in this period in between, like before you've reached your final destination, before you've found that solution, before you've gotten to that place. If your transition, is something physical, or you've obtained that feeling, if this transition is going to bring a different kind of feeling for you in your life, whatever it may be, we haven't gotten there yet. And something about this continuing to think about it, look for solutions, just kind of getting lost in the problem, the transition, the feelings of it, or even just the day-to-day life, like kind of the fog of like that exhaustion and just trying to like make it between each task, each responsibility that you have throughout the day. Um, this is this liminal space of before the resolution of the situation comes with every transition, every decision, or journey towards answers or solutions. We experience this liminal space a lot, and sometimes it's a pretty short window of time, but sometimes layovers can be much longer than we would want them to be, or even anticipate them to be. Sometimes flights are delayed, right? And the empowering thing here about this liminal space, this layover in life's airport, is that we have a choice, that we can choose to be stressed and impatient and in constant discomfort, or find something nourishing and restful. In the exact case of this example here, is finding food, finding a place to rest, finding a way to entertain yourself. Um, really, honestly, can directly translate into our life in this liminal space. And I am already anticipating many of you are going to have some resistance to this choice, saying that many things are out of your control. And I do hear you. And there are lots of things that are out of our control. The purpose of my videos are often to empower you with awareness and tools to work with what you can control. So, for those of you in this liminal space that want to find rest, nourishment, clarity, or even just take as much of a break as you possibly can in this uncomfortable or even painful in between that you're in, let's, I'd like to do something. First, I'd like to encourage you to put this down for just a moment. This, these heavy feelings, this chewing in your brain on the problem, the situation, just running it over and over in your head. Just put it down. Even if it must, even if you must set it down on the couch next to you, let's just put it down for 30 seconds to come up for air. I know you want to solve it right now, or have the transition finally be completed so you can stop struggling and finally rest and have the feeling of obtaining the result you're looking for. I know many of you believe that if you keep turning it over and over in your mind, that it will somehow give you the answer or speed along this process. But this rumination, it's a rocking chair. It gives you something to do to bring you some comfort or a sense of control, but it's not going to get you anywhere. Let's put this down for just 30 seconds to take a break. That's that situation or decision will be there when you get back. This break, it will help you, I promise, even if it gives you just a quick breather or even a little bit of clarity. I felt called to share some ways to help you take breaks, find rest, and hopefully set up the liminal space and maybe even your next step in life to feel more peaceful, stable, and sustainable, to help you stay connected to your higher self and your higher power and your direction in life. Not all of these will work for you. So take what resonates, leave the rest, and be open minded in your experimentation. Sometimes what won't work for you now will work for you later. So I encourage you to revisit these concepts numerous times in any of your liminal spaces in life. If you are in a dangerously low place in survival mode, I encourage you to seek resources and professional help. I will link a few resources in the description as well to help you get started. Many of these ideas for breaks and nourishment and rest may work for you in the space that you're in if you're really in a deep survival place, but use your intuition to guide you in what you need right now. This first idea for rest and recuperation is one of the smallest but most powerful. um, if you're able to, I encourage you to look for a plant or an animal. This can take 30 seconds. Great, just that little window of rest. And bonus points if you go safely touch one of these living things, whether that's petting the animal or you can pet the plant too, if it's safe to do so. If you have more than 30 seconds, or if you have the capacity for more than 30 seconds, I encourage you to do this outside. The outdoors, if you have not figured this out yet, is more nourishing than we even realize. And it can help bring our nervous system back down to a more tolerable frequency. The second resting spot for about 30 seconds or so is taking a pause and thinking about what in the last 5 minutes, or it could be just the whole day, depending how frequently you do this, what in this time period has left you feeling grateful, hopeful, restful, or have some kind of break, playful, inspired, empowered, grounded, supported, or connected to yourself or others, to spirit or your higher power or your higher self, the universe. And to take this a step further, if you have the bandwidth for it, do more of that thing. And in a super sustainable way, incorporating it into your schedule of what you already do, whether that's tacking it onto something else that you do, like dancing while you water your plants or singing in the shower. Or just adding it onto something like every morning after you brush your teeth, you pick up a book and read a chapter. The next thing that I want to highlight is another one of those resting spots that you can get for even 30 seconds. Of course, all of these can be longer than 30 seconds, but we're shooting for super accessible for you right now. And these are just the habits that you can incorporate into the rest of your life, not just in liminal spaces. But this third one may not feel accessible at first. I still encourage you to try, even if you have some resistance. But if it does not work for you at this time, I will bring this up again later in the video. So, this third suggestion is practicing gratitude. This has become a really powerful thing for me in my life. I personally resisted this for a long time. I grew up in a religion where they are constantly encouraging you to start a gratitude journal and it's somehow going to fix everything. I mean, I guess they technically never said that, but I really struggled to embrace this even when I was doing it because to me, I was like, how on earth is this going to solve the trauma that I've been through, that I was going through at the time, the depression and anxiety and loneliness and all of the things in between. So that's why I am acknowledging here. This may be difficult. Um, it won't be difficult forever. So stay open-minded to revisiting this concept. So in this case, you can do a similar thing where in the last 5 minutes, or especially if you're in a space where you can look at the big picture, if sometime in that time period of difficulty or crisis or whatever place in your life that you're leaving, pick out one thing that you're grateful for. I know this can be tough, so look for the low-hanging fruit. Did anyone help you during this time? Or even offer to help you? Because I know many of you are tend to be hyper independent. So even if you didn't accept that help, you can spend just a moment to appreciate that that one thing that you are grateful for. And a great way to prolong this break is to either look for more things or even just reach out to this person who helped you or offered to help you and express some gratitude. And a step further, their warm response is going to feel very uplifting. This next concept is going to be more of a concept than an active thing that you're doing. Um, I think many of you struggle with perfectionism. If you don't even realize that you struggle with perfectionism, it can even appear as having high standards for yourself or setting a high bar, or like things need to turn out exactly the way you want them to, or exactly the same every time. Um, all of these are kind of different iterations of this perfectionism. The goal here is we want to match the capacity of where you're at. So this may make some of you cringe. It did make me cringe at one time too. But the motto here is C's get degrees. And even if you're not in school, this concept is just communicating that uh, anything worth doing is worth doing half-heartedly. uh, doing something even 5% is better than none. And sometimes that might quite literally be I'm going to brush my teeth for 15 seconds if I can't do the 2 minutes, right? And there's no shame in that. And anywhere in our day that we can minimize our to-do list, the unnecessary additional pressures, to boil it down to the most basic of necessities, the absolutely must happen. And if you have the capacity, spend a little time evaluating that as you move throughout the day. If you find that you need to have your hair curled every day, maybe think about that and weigh whether or not that is a necessity for you. And it may be. We all have different kinds of necessities, but we're really shooting for the most minimal effort and make it accessible for you at this time. The next encouragement I have for you is engaging in your hobbies. And I know that this is a longer or like a more intentional effort activity. It can be, not all of them are, but it can require some more intentional effort. But this is also a longer resting spot. One of my favorite hobbies for these situations where you really need a break is reading a book, especially if it's a fun one that helps you escape reality, where it's like kind of low effort, like you don't have to learn anything, you don't have to be productive all the time. um, Something that's fun and hopefully lighthearted, to just help your brain and your nervous system take a break from reality, from the things that you're dealing with. I do feel like this is one of the easier ones to do, even if you need to do it as an audiobook. Um, is one of the easier ones to do just because it genuinely takes you out of your own head and puts you somewhere else and helps you forget for a while. There has been a lot of discouragement in the way that you are spending your downtime to escape here. So I wanted to touch on this for just a moment. There's discouragement of being on your phone, the doom scrolling as an escape activity. So any kind of hobby that you can choose as an alternative that on the spectrum of quiet and stillness to noisy and busyness, mm, we're looking for an activity that is a little bit closer to the stillness and quiet end of that spectrum. This is also what helps nurture the the spaces where you're more likely to get clarity in your direction, in the questions you're asking, the answers you're looking for to those questions, and also creates space for your nervous system to slow down, to move out of the fight or flight mode, even if you're not in fight or flight mode, just to bring us back down to a more tolerable range. And just find anything here that is going to be the easiest and most accessible with you, especially when you're feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. And if you're struggling with decision fatigue, throw a few things in a box so you can just reach for it anytime you need a distraction or a break, or create a list, whatever's going to help you. The next one I know will create some resistance for some of you. I know many of these may create resistance for you, so that's why we have a shopping list or like a menu here for you. Um, I'm even hesitating to say this because for many of you, I'm anticipating you resisting me. This next place for rest can give you a shorter or a longer resting spot, and to an extent may require less intentional effort. But this resting spot is with other people. Uh, I received this um, pretty clear image of like the position that many of you are in right now. And a big part of that was that you have been reclusive, especially for my hyper independent folks. Like, I know you are accustomed to carrying things on your own and you are strong, and nobody's gonna question that. Like, we all know that you can carry anything on your own and stubbornly will insist, even if people offer their help. But there was a lot of importance here in me communicating to you to connect with other people. And there was two different images that came up for me here. A yoke, which I don't know how many of you have actually engaged with this word before outside of your breakfast. um, but a yoke is often brought up in the context of oxen. Yeah, oxen is the plural, right? Tell me if I'm wrong. um, but the yoke is like a tool that helps spread the weight of the load between multiple oxen. So that way, uh, it is not like overexerting one individual. So I know this may be difficult, especially if you struggle to ask for help. But if people are offering help, even if you can do it on your own, and even if you feel like you have some resources to do it on your own, be open to accepting it. Like, view it as, okay, this is one less thing that I have to do while I'm exhausted, so I can save more of my energy for other things that I don't have help on. The other image that came up for me was that these people are cheerleaders. I know many of you struggle to like celebrate your own success and be your own cheerleader. So it is super helpful to have other people cheering you on, especially in these situations where we really can get lost in the difficulty because there's so much going on, or just lost in the day-to-day life. The people around you are going to see the ways that you're succeeding that you might not be seeing otherwise. And it just helps bring your focus back to the things that you are doing well and that are going well for you, even when it feels like a lot is not going well. Another thing I also want to point out about this yoke here and sharing the burden is you can think about the times that other people have shared, a good friend of yours has shared something they're going through, just telling you about it. I mean, it might feel a little heavy, but for the most part, I don't know about you, for the most part, I tend to be like, oh, cool, I'm glad they told me. That seems like they needed to share that. And I don't necessarily feel really hardly any, probably not even at all, any burden from that. Whereas a lot of times other people say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just dumped that on you. That was a bunch of heavy stuff. Um, remember, remember the way that you feel when people share things with you, often that you're glad that you can be of help, and really all you're doing is offering a listening ear. They can track their own needs. If they don't have capacity for it, they'll let you know, or you can ask if people have capacity for it. Um, so don't be afraid. Okay, let me reframe that. Feel empowered, be brave, like be willing to share the difficulties you're going through so that way you don't feel quite so alone. And just for even a short period of time, it doesn't feel like you're carrying that load alone either. Another way that you can also utilize the help of other people is listening about their life. It gives you a little break to hear about what's going on with them, especially if it's fun little drama or something, not that we're trying to start a gossip mill, but um, just gives you something else to focus on for a bit, or joining in on their activities. Like, whether they invite you or if you know that they like to do certain stuff, you know that they like to hike, it helps you to get outside for a bit, move your body. That clarity, that is where a lot of my best clarity comes from and some of my best rejuvenation comes from is being outside. And I know not everybody likes hiking, so think of it as a walk. Let's say a walk. Just being outside. You could go for a picnic. You could just go sit on the grass. And you could do that with somebody, and that can help. And also you're helping them. You're getting them outside, which is good for you. The next couple of ideas that I want to introduce are going to likely need a little bit more intentional effort. A lot of those are the feel good. Those are definitely the restful places. And hopefully them like have some accessible options for you. I'm sure there's many that I have not even said, but we can't chat forever. You know, I got some things I gotta go do too. And also, I can't think of everything. So I'm sure you've got plenty of good ideas. But I wanted to include a few that came to me and just acknowledge that they're almost in a separate category here, just because they may require a little bit more intentional effort. So I'm going to first say in this intentional effort category, that these are a great these are great tools for when you are coming up for air, right? And you have your head above water. You're a little bit more resourced. We're not really necessarily as much in survival mode. First, I want you to freaking celebrate how hard you've been working to get through this and the fact that you're just strong enough to survive and carry all that. Like, I mean, you're like doing so much on your own and like managing to juggle everything as best as you can. I know it's not perfect. I can already hear you saying that you're not juggling everything to the best of your ability. You're doing the best that you can. So I want you to celebrate that as much as you are able to. And if you don't know how to, I encourage you to share with somebody the things that you have been surviving and allow them to celebrate you. Next, I want to revisit the gratitude. If that was difficult for you previously, revisit that now. Especially because an extra layer of gratitude could be having gratitude for the lessons that you learned through this process, whether it was through the trial or this liminal space in this transition. Um, there's likely at least one thing that you learned. And even if that was you learning that you have more grit, that you are stronger than you thought you were. This idea or this bench for a resting spot can be something that doesn't require much effort, but can require a little bit of setup. And it is some way to remember your why. To gain perspective, I am encouraging you to find ways to remember your end goal and the feelings you will have when you get there, and the signs or answers or synchronicities you received that inspired you to start on this path and stay on this path. Some ideas on how to do so can include a vision board or hanging up some kind of picture or even a written statement of this why, of your why. So you can see it frequently and remember that end goal, those feelings you're striving for, or the signs or answers that inspired you on this path. You can also record an audio of your why so you can listen back to it, which is especially powerful because it is listening to your own voice. And you can also talk with someone that you trust or someone who is familiar with this vision leak that can happen with goals or following your purpose. They can remind you of your why if you've already told them, and they can help you process through the difficulties that come up when you are losing sight of your why. This can help ground you and reorient you on your path so you remember where you're going and why. Next, I would like to think a little bit more future oriented here. The phrase that came to me was optimistic net casting. This really actually technically doesn't have to take very long, but it does take a little bit more effort. Um, this intentional effort of thinking differently here. We often, when we're going through so many difficult things, when we're thinking through a problem or looking into the future, we're often looking for what could go wrong, what the likely outcome is, which if you've had a lot of difficulty, the likely outcome is difficult, that that's what your brain's telling you. I'm not saying that's true. Um, so this exercise here is an encouragement of you testing out the thought process. I know you might not believe it, but testing out the thought process of what if this worked out in the most ideal way? If your higher self or an angel came down to you saying, "Hey, sweet little soul, things are going to work out in your highest good." What would that look like? What would this ideal outcome look like? What would it feel like? Oh man, what would it feel like? That freedom, that lightness, that rest, that peace. Imagine what that feels like. This is something that my track coaches would talk to us about a lot, encourage us to work through before our events, is like imagining us at a very minimum, like imagining us crossing the finish line, but even like imagining you going through all the steps. You're getting down into your blocks, you're hearing the pop of the event gun, you're sprinting across the track, whatever your event is, and running across the finish line. In this case, the ideal outcome is you finish first, and then you take that medal, and you're imagining how you feel. This repetition, the encouragement here is repetition, but I mean, even if you do it once, good on you. But this repetition, uh, there's science here. I'm not the science whiz, okay? So I don't have the things to pull up for you, but there's science about why this is so effective. Um, I encourage you to look into that. That's not my forte, so I don't necessarily have anything immediate to link for you in the description. But if that calls to you, highly recommend looking into the research of why that's so effective. It's a common practice for athletes. Um, and the image that came up for me in this was actually like a tapestry, which sounds odd out of context here. But if you are weaving the threads of this tapestry, of your story, fabric of your life, you can choose at any point to keep weaving with the same threads, the same colors. And there's going to be times where you're like, oh, but the colors match so well here. So you stay subconsciously, like you make this decision to continue. There's that familiarity, there's what feels like a cohesiveness. But at any point, you can choose to weave with some different threads and bring more color and lightness into your life. So, this practice of optimistic net casting, this is kind of the second half to that, is just when you have the extra bandwidth. This definitely takes probably the most intentional effort out of just about anything that I've brought up in this video, is paying attention to your thoughts and seeing where you can replace them. Or if you don't even want to go that far, we can do a half step down from that. Like spending time out of your day and choosing new thoughts. We're gonna we can do that with so many things. Um, I mean, there's like affirmation videos that you can listen to. You can look for something that's more palatable if you're not super into that. I'm beautiful, I'm smart. And I sound like I'm mocking it. I'm not. Um, I think that's how some of you would actually genuinely feel about it, though, like mocking these things. You can find ones that are like, um, if I have the time, I'll look some up and I'll link some below as examples. Like, you just play around with the words of like affirmations or narratives or like manifestation. Um, 'Cause that's like, oh, like that's kind of a part of that community where they're saying like, I have abundance, I am succeeding, I am, the creator of my universe. I can choose the way that I want my life to look. Um, and the thing is about our brains, granted, I don't know if I have science for this, so if I'm wrong, definitely let me know. But I've been told that our brains do not know the difference between sarcasm, or a joke or whatever. So what we're doing is we're just trying to feed our brain what we want it to repeat, right? And the more that we can repeat that to our brain, the more that it's going to repeat it. So it's most effective if we are saying it to ourselves. But if you need to use a video, if you want to do it through music, I did it through music for a really long time, um, where the I just made a playlist that had really intentionally positive things in it. Um, that I would listen to every morning as I would get ready for work, just to like piggyback off of somebody else feeding good stuff to my brain. The things you're consuming on social media, I mean, following accounts that have more positive things or people who talk positively of themselves, um, or even just animal videos, like just trying to put some of that external positivity. I know I was discouraging the social media, but I do know it also happens. And this was what I did for a long time, was paid attention to the accounts I had on my social media that I followed so I could have more positivity and more affirmations like fed into me, you know, with little effort. And one small thing I want to add to this, like affirmations and feeding positive things to your brain, is I want to encourage you the best of your ability. Try to give yourself permission to rest, to do things that are not specifically productive, which are the hobbies, going outside, calling a friend, whatever it is that you're doing, that you're using to help you, to help you take a break, to help make your brain a little bit more of an enjoyable place to be, especially in a difficult period. And many of you are going to need so much rest right now. And many of you are moving into a phase of rest, whether that's in this liminal space or in this next step of your life that you're moving into. There's going to be space for rest. So give yourself that permission to rest as much as you can, as long as you can, until you feel like you've recuperated. You deserve that rest and you need that rest. And if you need somebody else to give you permission, I give you permission to rest and care for yourself. You're doing an exceptional job for all of the things that you have dealt with and that you're currently dealing with. I am blown away at how gracefully you've been handling this. And I know there's pushback already. Okay. You're going to tell me you haven't been doing it the most graceful. Honestly, most people who, whoops, sorry, knocked over my lamp. um, Most people being put in your position would not handle it with, first of all, they probably wouldn't even be able to handle it, but wouldn't be able to handle it with nearly the strength or grace or wisdom that you've been handling it with. Like the fact that you still get up every day and you try your best and you still do so much and you still care about the people around you and you give where you can. Like it is exceptional. And I hope that you see that it's okay if you don't believe that yet. I will keep reminding you as much as I can, as frequently as I remember. I also want you to know that I'm proud of you, and I hope that you are proud of yourself too, because you are truly an exceptional and special soul. You have accomplished and gone through so much more than many people will in their lifetime. And I know some of you are saying, I hear you. Well, I haven't done this and this and this yet with my life. Okay, well, that's fair. If you don't want to receive my compliment, go ahead. But you've gone through things that many people won't through their lifetime, and that comes with accomplishments. And I'm proud of you for that. You showed up and you did the things even when you didn't want to. You made it through the hard things even when you didn't want to. And that deserves a frickin' medal in my world, okay? If I had the money for all the medals in the world, I would send one to each of you individually. So for now, I'm sending you a metaphorical medal, and I'm sending you a whole lot of love, okay? So much love. I'm sending you restful and peaceful energy, all of the extra restful and peaceful energy that I have for you. I'm sending you gratitude because I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful that you're in this world. Like you're here doing exceptional things, even if it doesn't feel like you are. You're changing people's lives out here, okay? And you're an inspiration to a lot of people. So I'm really glad you're here. And I'm glad you're here, part of my soul family, because this soul family that I've been gifted, like, has been so meaningful and has brought so much love and gratitude into my life. It just has like filled my cup in such a new and special way that I'm stinking glad that you're here. So thank you. And thank you for watching my video. I feel honored that you trust me to be a light in this time where there's a lot of darkness for you, and hopefully a resting place, just a little bench in this liminal space in life's airport. I'm grateful to be that for you, and I hope that you accept that from me.